My name is Isaac Dudley. I'm the Flows Project Manager with Friends of the Verde River. Today we're on listening to the Verde. This program will inspire, educate, and inform you about all things that make the Verde River healthy. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are with Anna Mae Corey, owner of the Pines Inn and Suites, and Darin Dinsmore, owner of Tiny Camp with multiple locations here in the Verde Valley. Thank you so much for being here, both of you today.
Thank you for asking us.
Yeah, absolutely. This is such a great program, and it's so fun to hear about all the great work that's happening here in the Verde Valley. So both of you have done a lot of work on your properties around sustainability, and especially water sustainability, right? We've done a lot of work in the river-friendly living program, and I'm hoping that we can chat a little bit about that today. I wanted to start with just general introductions, though. So I want to start with you, Anna Mae. You've been in the area for a long time doing real estate and hotel management. Could you introduce yourself and your business?
Well, to introduce myself with regard to the topic today of sustainability in our river and our community, I had to go way back to the 50s and 60s, where Rachel Carson of Silent Spring was my idol. She was on the Fish and Game Committee when DDT started to be sprayed on our land and our people after the World War to kill bugs. And she was saying, wait a minute, you're not looking at the effect this could have with mankind. And my favorite quote from her was, if mankind poisons nature, nature will poison mankind. And so that's the beginning of my philosophy after growing up on an organic farm in the 50s and 60s and a health food store in the 60s. My dad was the first health food store. So my philosophy is very based on well-being and the health of our environment and our crops and our farms and our food. So when I came to Cottonwood and started the Pines, it's just a natural flow for me to integrate what I believe can be done, and it's nothing gigantic and huge, just little baby steps, little things that we can do, and we can bring some of those up today.
Great, thank you for that intro, Anna Mae. It'll be great to hear about some of those points that you're putting into place out there. What about you, Darin? Could you introduce yourself? I know you have a background in community development and sustainability. Introduce yourself and your business.
Yeah, thank you for that. And actually, I grew up on a small farm in Ontario, Canada. Grew up on the Great Lakes, part of the Great Lakes watershed, and ended up moving down to California 20 years ago to run an environmental group called the Sierra Business Council. And part of my work there was working in 20 different watersheds throughout the Sierra Nevada of California, and then focusing specifically on the regional plan for Lake Tahoe, which was very important nationally from a water quality point of view and lake clarity point of view. And as a consultant, developed the regional plan for Lake Tahoe. And in that process, we realized that we don't need more sprawling development. We need to make better use of these small little parcels we have. And actually, through what we were calling environmental redevelopment, we can actually make them improve the watersheds through good design as opposed to sprawl. And so I ended up moving to the Verde Valley 4 years ago, and I've been picking up small pieces of infill development properties that were underutilized but on existing services, water and sewer, and turning them into small adventure lodging locations. So we have 2 locations right now.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. Where are your 2 locations right now?
Yeah, so we have a location in Oak Creek Canyon just past Indian Gardens. And there's 5 units there, and it's in the Oak Creek watershed, the protected watershed up there. And then we just opened a new one right in Old Town Cottonwood, and it was on a vacant piece of property that had never been developed right in the heart of Old Town.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. We'll be looking forward to seeing some pictures of the site here in a minute and talking about some more of those projects. Anna Mae, to turn back to you, the Pines Inn and Suites have gone through a number of different sustainability programs, and you guys have done a lot of different projects around that. You touched a little bit on your conservation ethic. Could you go a little bit more into that and why it's important for your business?
Well, in terms of certifications, It began in Arizona in around 2009 and 2010, where the Arizona Hotel Lodging Association noticed that companies and hotels were starting to use, we're going green, we're green this, we're green, and there was no substance to it. And they go, well, what? No, this isn't right. So they coupled with the Arizona Office of Tourism and the ADEQ, and they came up with and designed an 18 to 20 page questionnaire where business then could answer the questions, and if they got 150 points, they then could qualify to get certified green from the Arizona Hotel Lodging and Association. So then the certification kind of put credence behind companies who were saying we're green and we're going green. And Arizona actually was the beginning of hotels doing this, and many other states followed the program. They used them as a template because it was so well done. That was good for the first year. The second year you had to increase your points by 50. So every year you had to improve your the things you do, and there's lots of suggestions in here of things that you can do, to improve your points and to improve water usage. And so we have been very proud to be able to use this logo on our signs and on our marketing, and they're currently undergoing upgrading the program again, but it's going to be coming back out. And then in 2019, we met Lisa Voss from the Sustainable Alliance of Arizona, and they have their own little program of questions and things that you can do and things you can say. So we qualified for that program the first year as bronze, and then upgrading the second year with little things we could add because she suggested them to the next silver. So we're pleased that these seem like simple things, but they are things that most businesses in Cottonwood, the hotels in Cottonwood, could also look into these programs and pick things that were easy for them. I don't want to advocate what someone else should do, but the easiness of simple things that they add up. They add up to save our environment and our water and our air, and so.
So speaking of that, you've got a few more things there. I want to take a look at that plaque that you have. So that was from the Verde River Exchange.
Yes, this is the water offset program, and we certified the beginning when Max was still here. You and Max came over and talked to us about water conservation and things that the Pines could do. And I mentioned to you earlier, if I knew everything that the Friends of the Verde River could talk about, I don't. I don't understand a whole lot of it. But you and Max were influential in saying, look, you could offset your pool water, and then we would give a credit to someone else. So you could even explain the offset program better than I can. But we were very proud to receive this certificate, we offset 204 gallons of water that year, just with our pool.
That's so great. Pools are such a consumptive use of water, but so important for the hospitality industry, right? It's a very nice perk to have a pool at your location, right?
Yeah, and then one of the things we did that Lisa Voss pointed out to us when she came was that we could convert to a saltwater pool, which we probably wouldn't have drained all that water out to do that initially, but we were 20 years into the pool already and had to resurface it and go in anyway. So while we had to drain it and come in and resurface and retile, we came back in with a full saltwater system.
That's very exciting.
It is.
That's a great upgrade, and it's still water neufral, right?
Yeah.
Because of that water offset through the Verde River
Offsetting,
Exchange.
and then the chlorine evaporates, and it offsets that way. And also, it's healthier for our guests because they're not absorbing the chlorine into their skin, which we know that we do when we swim in water. We absorb it. So.
Absolutely. And so then for our viewers that are watching that don't know what the Verde River Exchange is, we get to work with local agriculture producers to inspire them to reduce their water usage so that we can offset other consumptive water use here in the area. And Darin, you were a part of that as well through Tiny Camp, Cottonwood Resort. What other projects have you incorporated on that property that you're excited about?
Yeah, so we have, as I mentioned before, we have a couple properties, one in Oak Creek Canyon and one in Old Town Cottonwood. And I think what I learned the most from was the gray water recycling that we implemented with the help of a small grant from your organization. And we just had our first yoga retreat this weekend, and it was great because it was all sustainable. They did farm-to-table dinners for every meal. The projects have solar panels and solar energy. And then we were able to talk to our guests about their shower water being used to help with the infiltration gallery and the pollinator garden that was planted to help with habitat restoration. And so it was really exciting that they could actually see it function. You know, we could run outside, and it's right by our kind of outdoor fire pit area, and you can actually see, the impact of the water from the showers going into the system, and how it all works, and the birds and the animals that are coming into that area at night.
That's so great. Thanks for sharing that. One of my personal favorite parts of that project was when we brought those pollinator plants in on day one. How many pollinators were there already just overnight? The butterflies were flying around. It was beautiful.
Yeah, lots of butterflies and birds. And I think one of the most important things about that property was, it was a forested setting. And we had significant oak trees at the back, 100-year-old mesquite trees, and hackberries. And by using tiny homes and tiny homes on piers, we were able to actually keep all those trees and not impact their root zones, and actually work out the invasive species, keep the native species, and then by using water management, we're able to actually improve the health of those trees.
And so far you've removed about 80% of the invasives on site, and I believe you have a phased plan to get rid of the rest. Is that right?
It's going to take a while. We have frontage on Willard and Main Street, and that area there's a lot of invasive species with deep root zones, but we're going to try to outcompete them over about the next 5 or 10 years.
Awesome. So it does look like we're coming up on our halfway point. So I want to talk about one more thing, and then we'll probably go on break after that. This is another question for you, Darin. So we implemented the water harvesting on there and several other things. You commented on the gray water, but this goes a little bit back more into your philosophy, I think. But why is it that this low impact development style is so crucial to your business model?
Yeah, so we're finding that our guests are actually kind of, we're educating our guests on something that's new and different, this idea of sustainable tourism. And I don't know if Sedona thinks they've coined that term, but a lot of jurisdictions, especially where I was doing the regional plan in Lake Tahoe, have been managing growth and development around sustainable tourism for a while. The whole idea of providing an alternative to the status quo of, say, hotel development, where something can fit into the landscape, be a light footprint project, and then the guests can understand and reduce their footprint. Eventually, we want to get to a point where guests that come will get kind of like a report card of their stay, and it will have been, here's what your water use could have been, and here's what your actual water use was, here was your energy usage, and that kind of thing, and they can take that home with them. We haven't quite developed that technology. I worked on the Athletes Village for the Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver, and it was called an eco district, and it had a lot of these sustainability features, and they had that kind of measuring, tracking, and metric system built in. So we want to it was an expensive, complicated system, and we want to kind of learn from that and simplify it and turn it into an educational element of the project.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And then when we come back from break here, Anna Mae, I want to ask you kind of the same question. So we'll jump in with what you see the lodging industry, what role you see them playing in sustainable tourism.
Perfect.
We'll go ahead and go to break. Thank you to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to listening to the Verde, everyone. Today I am here with Anna Mae Corey with Pines Inn and Suites and Darin Dinsmore, owner of Tiny Camp with multiple locations here in the Verde Valley. We just got done talking with Darin about why sustainability is an important part of his business model, and I want to turn that same question over to Anna Mae. What role do you see the lodging industry playing in sustainable tourism?
Well, I am in the lodging industry. However, I think we need to look at the wellness idea, because the wellness is now really forefront in people's minds since COVID went. So within the lodging industry, many of the properties and then all the lodging places that we have, not only in Cottonwood, but Jerome and Camp Verde and everywhere, we can extend what we do. One of the main things is single-use plastics. That is like so what the motels throw away every day it's heartening to think, and so anything we as an industry, as a town, as a restaurant, as a business in town that could begin to eliminate single-use plastics would help our environment, it would help our rivers, it would help the plastic sea out in the Pacific. And one of the things I learned when I went to Page Springs Winery Cellars was they use a product made from bamboo. Bamboo dishes carry out, silver made out of bamboo, and you throw it in the compost and it'll decompost. Well, I think that those kind of products really need to be replaced within the hotel industry. Well, one of the things we're going to do is, we waited because of COVID, but there's a product you can put in your shower, and you dispense in large containers gel and shampoo and conditioner, and then you refill them instead of throwing away hundreds and thousands of these little plastic bottles. You take a little bar of soap and someone uses it once and you throw it away. I just think we need to do more work, and it's not only the hotels can improve this situation, but then the whole community, because it has to do with our restaurants. Now, wellness is really important to a tourist now, because what do they want to do? Why do they want to leave a big city? They want to go hiking, they want to go biking, they want to go out and enjoy nature, they want to enjoy the river, they want to canoe on the river. And what do we have to offer tourism? A clean, wonderful environment, thanks to the organizations like Friends of the Verde and others in town that focus on ecotourism. So.
That was a great answer, Anna Mae. Thank you for that. Now, in speaking to reducing the single-use plastics and things like that, I know there are obviously some things you just can't get around, but you guys have done a lot of work on reducing your waste. What kind of little tips and tricks are you guys employing out there that other people could use?
One of the ideas is that when we bought a new commercial washer, we bought one that would spin more deeply so that when you went in the dryer, it dried quicker. Low flow shower things, flow flush toilets, LED lights. I think the whole hotel industry as a whole nationally did go with your towels. Instead of washing everyone's towels every day, if you use the towel, hang it up. If you want us to wash it, throw it on the floor. So this saves a lot of water, a lot of water. And if properties aren't implementing that idea, I think it's a real important one. And I could go on, but everything seems to be very little, and it's not so much the big things you can do, but little things add up, And as we become aware of things, it's not about how much more does it cost you to do one thing and then another thing. Our cleaning products, we use things like melaleuca and vinegar. Instead of heavy chemicals, they get washed into our sewer and into the Verde River and so forth. And the only place we use a bleach is in the toilet to sanitize that. All those kind of things really affect the environment.
Absolutely. I know there are a couple other just like little tips that you guys are doing on your property, Darin, specifically thinking about chemicals and the gray water capture system. You have a specific type of soap and shampoo that you use. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we've partnered actually with Public Goods. It's a New York-based company, and on a eco, chemical-free shampoos, lotions, and body washes for in the showers, so that it's not going to negatively impact our gray water infiltration gallery and pollinator garden. And it's been working out quite well. We're kind of monitoring how it works, and the mortality rate of the plants that are being fed by that water right now is 100%. So we haven't lost any of those plants yet.
And speaking of plants, I forgot to mention, we have a couple of sections within our hotel where we put native plants, and so we removed all the irrigation that was there originally. See, we're a 25-year-old property, so we're having to, remove and reinvent things. But I forgot to mention our native plants. This is something everyone can do, is just plant things that don't require as much water. Mm-hmm. We also put in a Tesla charging station in 2014. I personally drive a Tesla. And then we also put in the APS for the regular electric cars now. So we're all functioning and ready for the next few coming years when everyone's going to be driving more electric cars. And I think that's something everyone can do. Put in chargers because it's coming.
And I imagine it even helps your business too. People will probably seek you out because you have a charger available.
Yeah, well they do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just the beginning of growing.
Sure.
It's just at the beginning, so.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So I want to transition to something just a little bit lighter. I want to get to know some of you two just a little bit more, and I want to know your favorite water story. It doesn't have to do with the Verde, but something, maybe it was a family trip or a wildlife experience. I would love to hear about that from both of you. Maybe we'll start with Darin.
Well, I know somebody else might talk about the Great Lakes, but fishing with my dad on the Great Lakes was probably one of them growing up. But I have a more recent example. I was living in the Bay Area. I lived on a houseboat in Sausalito, and that's where the whole idea of the tiny houses came from. We had a village and a shared dock, and you got to know your neighbors. And we were all part of a Hawaiian-style outrigger paddling club. And that's where you have six members in a boat, and we did racing all up and down the coast and over in Hawaii and things. And our crew came out, and we all rafted the Grand Canyon, the Colorado River together this Labor Day weekend, and it was fantastic to have these people that I spent hundreds of hours on the ocean, actually in Arizona, going down the Colorado together. And there were 29 of us, and we had a really good time. And they're actually all coming to stay at Tiny Camp, where we did our water quality projects in January. And it might be a little cold, but we want to, educate them and inform them about the Verde.
That's great. I'm not shy to kayak in January, so let's get them out there. We'll just bundle them up.
Okay.
What about you, Anna? What's one of your favorite water stories?
Okay, back to my childhood.
Yeah.
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, 1969, and the Cuyahoga River catches on fire. Whoa! What? A river catching on fire? The river then, the people discovered there's very high industry and manufacturing, and there was no regulation. They could dump their poisons and their toxins and all their waste right into the river, and the river Cuyahoga flowed into Lake Erie, and the next thing we know, it's now called the Dead Lake, and you can't fish because all the fish died. Mm-hmm. The fish. Well, why does catastrophe have to happen before we change something? Why does something awful? Now they regulate it and they brought back life into the area, but that impressed me a lot because I have a health food store at the time, and we're talking about wellness, and our river is catching on fire. So that was very impressionable to me, in going to the future of you be proactive, not reactive.
Absolutely. Thanks for
my
sharing
story.
that. That's heartbreaking.
I know, it's my story.
I
It's
can't
true.
even imagine seeing a river catch on fire.
Yep, there you go.
What kind of industry was it out there?
Well, just manufacturing of all kinds of things, toxics, I know, just everything.
Yeah.
Everything that happened in manufacturing was on the river, so they could dump it. But now they can't do that anymore.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think we're coming up on our time here, but I wanted to give a chance to both of you to tell us anything else that you'd like for our viewers to hear, maybe about your business. You know, it's probably a great time to plug. You know, how do they find you guys? How can they book a stay at either one of your hotels or your location?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, we're just online at www.tinycamp.com. And we have, we're just small. We're just starting out. We call it adventure lodging. Sustainable adventure lodging, and we have the location in Sedona and Oak Creek Canyon and Cottonwood, and we're going to start working on a location in West Sedona this year, and then a locals housing project using the same kind of tiny house sustainable model in Clarkdale. We have an approved 22 unit project that we'll be breaking ground with this year as well. So, but it's all online at that website.
Great.
What
I'm
about
really
you?
interested in your Clarkdale project, so maybe we could talk some more about that. In terms of how to find us, it's just word of mouth. We get a lot of word of mouth from our partners and our local people and our Chamber of Commerce, and of course the internet is really important. And so just being active locally and doing what you believe in, people experience your place and then they find you. I don't know how they find us. They just find us, and we're really happy because we get good reviews about the things we're doing and people appreciating. There was one time before COVID that we took paper, recycled paper, and we cut it up into squares and we stapled it and put a pen on it instead of spending money to buy paper for our rooms. And one man complained, "Boy, you're so cheap, you give because this thing." It's like, no, you don't get the point. We're recycling our paper. And so sometimes people don't approve of everything that you do, but that's how they find us. So.
Gotcha. And then you do have a website, right?
Absolutely.
pinesandsuites.com?
Correct.
All right. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. That has been our episode of Listening to the Verde today. Thank you so much for joining, and please come visit us here in Cottonwood and stay at one of these great locations. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listening to the Verde is brought to you by Friends of the Verde River. Please visit verderiver.org/listening for more videos and resources.